specifically yet, but Rachel and I, we said that we're new to the program. We are very new. I started June 1st, she started July 11th. So a lot of the information we give you, we've gone over, we reviewed it, we feel good about it. There's going to be a few things that y'all ask that might stump us. We want you to ask those questions so we can get the answer. And chances are Jake, my editor, Jackson, has an answer on how things were in the past. If you were not aware, I'm sure a lot of y'all were, if you worked as an official. We did not have pro staff oversight last semester for the most part, and so a lot of it was student ran. And so a lot of good came out of that with our students on the ground level that are working side by side with y'all, understand how the program works at a deeper level because they had to be the ones in the office doing all the admin stuff. So ask away with questions, and somebody in this room will get you an answer, or we will find out an answer after we get out and take it, okay? All right, so disciplinary system. We're just going to get it out of the way in the beginning because I don't want this to be an issue in our program. But we have not had a clear disciplinary system in a couple of years, and so this is a new implementation if you have already worked for us, and if you're new, then this is going to be new regardless. So here are a few examples. Everybody's getting this PowerPoint email to them, so you can go read those on your own leisure, but I'm going to have Jackson go to the next slide, and we're going to go over what we see on our end. So we've got this on our end for keeping track of our staff, and at the bottom of this is going to be a tab of everybody's name. And so anybody who works with us is eligible to get an IJP, is what they're going to be called. That stands for inadequate job performance. With these, you guys are the ones that are responsible for filling them out. You guys are the eyes and ears. We're going to be there some nights, but we work from 9 to 5 in the office too. So like when we stay at night, that's basically a whole day of work for us. And so we'll be out there maybe once or twice a week, but y'all are going to be the ones on the ground level, and it's your show to run at night. This form right now, the plan is for it to be on Connect 2. If we switch it over to a Google form, we will alert you of that, but regardless, it's going to be on your supervisor iPad, or if you use your laptop, which we'll talk about a little bit later on how to do that. Regardless, whatever device you have out there, this is how you submit your forms. And it's basically a 3-strike career system. So 3 strikes, you're out, but with a caveat that all decisions are made by pro staff, and I've used this system before at every university, and we've had people get 3 strikes, and it did mean that they were terminated. It's situation by situation, and at the end of the day, we are in the business of developing all students as people, so hiring you does not do us a whole lot of good, right? So it would take a lot to get to that point, but we want to stay, hopefully no strikes. If you get strike 1, it's going to start up here. So verbal warning, points, strikes, 1 strike, 2 strike. The only way you can get 2 strikes in one offense is a no-call, no-show. So you got something scheduled, you didn't let anybody know, and you didn't show up, right? You do that, that's 2 strikes, and we will be having a conversation with you probably the next day. 1 strike, unsportsmanlike conduct while participating. So if you're a participant and you're treating our refs and our supervisors crappy, or the other players on the other teams crappy, you guys are held to a much higher standard because you're part of the program, and everybody's going to know you're part of the program. So when you're acting like a bad participant, that's going to tell them that they can act like that, right? If the people that y'all are working with are still acting inappropriate, then that tells them that, okay, we can do it because those people are friends and they're still acting like that. Poor attitudes towards coworkers during the shift, using phone, improper attire, second tardiness of more than 5 minutes, more than 15 minutes late, showing up without a whistle if you were scheduled as an official. All these things on here are held, y'all are held to the standard, but remember, you guys are overseeing officials with some of your shifts, and so a lot of this pertains to overseeing them. If they do that, that's when you'll submit an IJP. When you submit an IJP for one of these things, the form is pretty self-explanatory, but you do need to be detailed whenever it asks you the different questions to fill out. And when you submit the IJP, it goes to us. We might call you to get some clarifications, but besides that, you're not part of the process of the decision making once it's that person's business, right? And so the same applies to you if you do get an IJP. We will take care of it, but we're not in the business of airing out people's laundry, right? And so we will take care of it from there once we get the IJP. Don't think that something happens with the staff that's frustrating you, you submit an IJP, and then you don't hear back from us and you think, okay, well, they just completely ignored me, why is that? Why are we doing this? We are handling it internally, and we would hope that y'all want the same thing. If it happened to y'all, we got one submitted for you, that we're not discussing it with everybody on staff and telling people what we decided to do for punishment and all that sort of stuff, right? But the IJP will get submitted. You can submit an IJP on Casey. You can submit an IJP on Rachel and I. You can submit it on other supervisors. Officials can submit it on supervisors. Supervisors can submit it on officials. It's to hold everybody in the program accountable, right? In my time using this system, the IJP has been good because it's a tangible thing to submit, and a lot of times our supervisors, when they submit it, are just going to have that conversation with their official. You'll notice on strike one, it doesn't specifically acknowledge that the coordinator is going to be meeting with them. So if you as a supervisor submit this IJP because they're 10 minutes late to their shift, right? And then you have that conversation with them about things that they can do to not be late, making sure they set alarms if they forget something, making sure that they are packing their stuff and having it ready to go 5 minutes before they leave, like they're actually getting ready, and you give them a good conversation, then you've earned respect from that official. We're not going to make it a bigger deal than it needs to be because you've already addressed it, and we'll just document it and move on from there. And then it kind of feels like you did them a solid and everybody learned from the situation, right? And so a lot of times, I know it can kind of seem like in your face and maybe create a hostile environment, but it doesn't, and a lot of times it doesn't get past strike one. And when we do have strike one, we let our supervisors handle it instead of coming into our office and having a big meeting with the coordinators and all that sort of stuff. So we're going to talk about forms later. This will be a part of those forms, but this is just one tool that you have to hold each other accountable.
How's everyone doing? Good? Okay. Time to get into intramural sports. So this is what our numbers look like in spring. We had about 508 teams, 1,400 games, which is all thanks to you all. So thank you for working for our program last semester. You did officiating or supervising, but we kind of just like to show here just because it shows what we accomplished and what we signed up. Again, thanks to you all for making that experience for participants, whether you also played too, because that's us as well. Alright, here is a dive into what we're offering this semester. So our officiated sports are going to be flag football, indoor soccer, and 5v5 basketball and outdoor soccer, as well as indoor volleyball too. 40-40 volleyball. These are all of the sports that you will be working. Yeah, we got trivia, flag football, season A and season B. Please take a look at it and let me know if you have any questions. This is just what our semester looks like, which is super exciting, so please participate if you can. Yeah. Okay, diving into the logistics of it. So I'm going to give you a background of what intramurals is and what you can offer to our participants. So starting at the levels of play. Here we have recreational and competitive. So the difference between those is we have a few leagues that we have just separating open recreational and competitive, and with that it's either a fun league or it's a competitive league. Oftentimes in these leagues you might see teams that just smash everyone else and they should be in a different division, but there's really nothing you can do about that. From your perspective, if you want to have a conversation, you can always encourage a team to move up to competitive, but that's how we're separating that. Not all of our leagues are separated into recreational and competitive, but that's just kind of how we differentiate some of the leagues that we have with our open leagues. And so when I say open pretty much means that anyone can participate. And so there's no gender restrictions. We have all male identified players as well as all female identified players, or mix and match sports makes you choose between two different genders. And so it's whatever that person identifies as that gender is what they will be playing under in that system. Does that make sense? So that also includes for you all too, when you're enforcing co-rec policies, you can look at IMEs. And so that's pretty much kind of a safe bet for how you can check like the minimum restrictions for gender equality. So that's open co-rec. We do have Greek divisions, and so Greek is open, but it's only really justified for Greek teams. So sororities can complete in it, or fraternities can. We also opened up a women's league as well for a few of our sports, just to get our female identifying participants and get more participation out there. What we foresee going forward with that is some sororities may sign up, which is perfectly fine. But the goal is to kind of figure out how to get more female participation out there. So those are our leagues and what we have, and so that is what I am leagues is separated our, like separated, or it's how you categorize the teams and what you are. A player cannot participate in two single gender teams with the same league, so they must participate in a different league if they're playing co-rec, but they can participate in a co-rec and open league, or a co-rec and women's league, or co-rec and men's team, depending on the situation. And that'll be something that IM leagues can catch, but if you do often see someone out there cross-playing on teams out on the field, they will be an eligible player and you'll need to kind of enforce that policy when they do play. Sorry about that for the questions. Last is divisions. So after categorizing the league, they can go into divisions, which is what teams sign up for. And so that's kind of the verbiage that we use with participants when we figure out their time, just what they're playing for. One thing for you all to know is if someone ends up coming to question you on IMPs, so spots are only confirmed in divisions once the team meets the minimum requirement. So even if someone thinks they signed up a team and they only have one player on their roster, they're not designated a spot. You need to confirm that. Yes, ma'am.
I have a couple things to add. This is gonna get this is what we get the most phone calls about in the next 2 weeks. Minimum requirements are gender requirements. You have to have paid for a pass that includes free agents. So I had someone come in to the office yesterday or the day before, and they're a free agent. We have to buy a pass, and then also have a number needed for that team. So if the minimum requirement for 44 sand volleyball is 3, we need at least 3 people who meet all those same requirements. Make sure people know that during the office ethics flow, just passing through your friends to ask you questions, because that's the difference between getting a spot and getting your first preferred time slot and not, and also not playing. That's like a really, really crucial thing. We say that in our handbook that nobody reads, that's why no one knows. Just make sure you're really getting that point across, and you're also telling people that in your captain's meetings the first, second, third, and fourth week of the season. Thank you.
Alright, next one we want to get into, so free agents. Free agents are going to be individuals who want to join a team, but they don't have a team. So that's a way that they can set up on IM leagues. Oftentimes, I believe in the past we've created free agent teams, but if you have a team asking about free agents, just know that there are individuals that can go in and sign up and pretty much like be out there to play on any team. Once a free agent is committed to a team and has played one regular season game with that team, they will be committed to that team. So like that. And then playoffs. So this is something that we've changed from the past, but for our team sports, for all teams that get in playoffs must be in the top half of the division and have a minimum of 3.5 sportsmanship. And so that'll ultimately be our tiebreaker, which is win percentage, head-to-head, sportsmanship, and points differential. Okay, payment model. So we will mostly be dealing with this in the office, but if you have participants asking about how to get an intramural membership, this is what we have to offer. And so for the entire season A sports, like all the sports under season A, you get $16, and then a semester pass will be $30. So that includes everything. We will also have a season B pass, and that will be $16 for the next season. So they can split it that way. Big groups to buy bulk passes as well, so if you have a fraternity that you know wants to sign up, they're gonna have to contact the sports office through email, or they can come in and talk to us, but we can sell them bulk passes with a 10% discount. That. And then, yeah, you can't play on 2 teams within 1 league, but you can play in different leagues if you choose to. And then staff discounts are available, so if you choose to play intramural sports, you can contact one of the office staff, and we can get you that discount going before you sign up. This includes, I believe this includes all campus rec staff, right? Do you know if that includes all campus rec staff or just our sport program staff?
It's all, so the thing is with, I don't have a discount code.
Yeah.
It's for all the staff, but if you hand it out, people without like them being staff and you find out, then it's just away. So it's best to just keep it in their house. Other areas in the facility have their own, well, they have the same code, but their coordinators hand it to them. So just keep it in-house for the sake of keeping your guys' discount active.
Alright, this is eligibility. So these are all of the people who can play. Pretty much if anyone has a rec center membership, they can sign up for intramurals. And so that includes students, faculty, staff, HEMA community college students who are enrolled in a partnership program that can participate, and any affiliates with the rec center membership. So be sure if you get any questions on this, that you know who is eligible to participate. Is that additional extra fee after they have that rec center membership? This is what we got. Unfortunately, professional and semi-professional athletes do not participate. So if Tom Brady came to our school and decided to take some classes here, he could not participate in football. Actually, no, he can't participate in any sport unless 36 months have elapsed. So just a heads up with that. This also includes intercollegiate athletes within their sport. And so if someone from the men's basketball team wanted to come play, they can play flag football and they can play volleyball, but they can't play basketball. So just be sure that you are holding this. Club athlete teams. This is something that y'all really need to know because I believe you've had some issues with it in the past. But teams or intramural teams are only allowed 2 club players on their team within the comp team. If they're not in a competitive league, they can only have 1 player on their team at all times. Does this make sense? Yes, ma'am.
I would also like to point out that we're talking about soccer. So if you're working soccer, I can show you guys later, but if you go to the rec drive, I'll show you guys later. You look at the roster for the men's team, you can literally just see who's on it. You see that there's more than 2. Either you remove them right then and there, and they can decide amongst them who wants to. Or I think that, no. Jake, can you help me? Don't we kick them out of the league? I can't remember what the punishment is. Because they know they're not supposed to do that.
Yeah, we had an issue last year with soccer second teams, and they knew what they were doing, don't feign ignorance. But all you do at the time being is if they have more than they're supposed to, you just suspend the whole team, and they forfeit out games until they decide who is leading the team. So that's where checking IDs and also knowing who's on it is really important. Theoretically, office staff had to figure it out beforehand, so you guys as supervisors don't feel it on the field, but sometimes they try to sneak players on. Soccer is just the most notable one, but there are also pilots, club players that play volleyball, everything like that. It's also important to know that if you have 4 volleyball club members, they can be on the same soccer team, which is sport specific.
Yeah, that's a good point too. Very sport specific, so be sure that they're not on the team. I feel like from your level, if you have another team accusing another team, you'll have the access to double check that roster and you can do it on your level. But most likely, like Jake said, it'll be caught in the office first. But again, we do expect y'all to know this policy just to reinforce it. and that's just unacceptable, and we can't accept that. So we're kind of going to you to make sure that we're enforcing that correctly. Like I said, if a participant does try to check into someone else, that team or that name will be suspended for 1 year, and the team could be dropped from the league. We'll take it on a case-by-case basis, but it's better not to just test it. Yeah, David. It'll be both. So, yeah, just to reiterate David's question, both people may be suspended in IM leagues, and then the team could be eligible to be dropped from the league. Yeah, and then last point I want to make here is even if both teams like really agree that this person can play and like it's their last hope that they can play, it's ultimately the intramural staff and we have to hold our teams to the same policy, so they can't compete, and it's kind of your call on the last one.
This also goes for rec teams. We have a lot of rec teams that play, they're our buddies, we hang out with them, we hang out on the weekends, but please still be unbiased and check their cat cards, whatever they're bringing, every time. And then also make sure that, I already forgot what I said. Just make sure that you're not like letting anyone slide, even though they're our friends and stuff. I'm pretty sure I checked Casey's ID last week at softball, so it is what it is.
Yeah, I really want to harp the cat card part, and I realize there's every issue that she had the last case, in case I forgot it. We've had a couple issues where students have signed up their significant others who don't go to the U of A, and they just say, oh, I forgot my cat card, here's my ID, and then they get points to officials. So try to maintain cat card first as a standard, because that'll solve all your issues trying to figure out if that person's actually who they say they are, and then that's the roster requirement.
One thing is if you catch a team, so it's also your kind of responsibility is if you see a team playing out on the field and you see people out there that aren't checked in, it's your responsibility to pull them out of the game so they need to check in. They cannot be playing without them being checked in. So be sure that you're either counting players on the field or like talking to the team captain, stopping the game if there's that many